Good morning and welcome to the show. I am Beth, your hostess, and this is In Touch. In Touch is our weekly half-hour public affairs show. At the end of the program today, if you are a member of a nonprofit group or organization, if you are a company here in the Hudson Valley helping out a nonprofit group or organization, we'd love to have you on the show, talk about what is important to you. So I'll give you all of my contact information at the end. Let me turn on a microphone and say that we are welcoming old friends back, which is beautiful. A great organization here in the Hudson Valley. We're going to be talking about the Children's Home in Poughkeepsie. So we have Walter Joseph, who is here, who is the executive director of the Children's Home in Poughkeepsie. Walt, thank you very much.
Good morning, Beth. It's good to be here.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Teresa Karen is here. She is director of development and public relations. And I think I got that right.
Delighted to be back, Beth. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And thank you for your patience as some scheduling issues happen. So I do appreciate that you guys are here. You know, with the Children's Home, I love it that you guys come on a regular basis because there is so much that is going on. The Children's Home continually, how old is it? It's 100 and...
We're in our 167th year.
Right. An organization, does, I know I say this every time you guys are on, but is not going to stay around unless you continually look at what the community needs, what the children need, what society needs, or doesn't know it needs yet, which may be the case, to continually evolve and change and address the needs. So that's why I like you guys coming on a regular basis, because it's very active. You guys are very active as to what's going on. So, Walt, kind of get us up to speed a little bit on what's been going on over the winter, other than tons of snow and everybody being stuck and all of that.
Everybody's stir crazy and has cabin fever. But,
yeah, I know.
Today I saw a group of kids going out from the emergency program. I think there were 7 or 8 little kids under 5 who were headed over to the playground in their winter coats. So that's been our story this winter, that our emergency program has been over full really since November. We went right up to our maximum census in November, and then it dropped a little bit after the first of the year and then went right back up. And we're seeing a lot of Dutchess County kids, which is our typical population there, but we're also bringing kids in from Orange, which is kind of new for us, and Ulster is using us. Putnam County has had us do a number of diagnostic evaluations on kids. Sullivan sent a child to us. Columbia County sent a child to us. So our reach is kind of expanding beyond, being local to being, a bit more regional in the Hudson Valley. Wow,
that's a lot of I want to say emergencies, but I don't want to use that. That's
the right term.
That's a lot that is happening, that a child would need to be removed in that situation, in that type of an environment.
We've had as many as 5 babies at one time. We had to expand our nursery. So, but it's good that we're there.
Yes.
It's great that we are there and able to take in these children anytime, day or night, 24/7, 365 days a year. We're ready.
Right. And that, when you look around, and anyone who has read any type of a newspaper or who has looked at any kind of a news report, you see this. You see various issues, various reasons, various causes as to what is happening and what is happening in our society, that children need to be removed.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of things, and I don't know this from empirical research, but I think the economy being as bad as it has been for as long as it's been, it's kind of catching up. I really think this long winter has been a contributing factor, that people, really feeling the stress of that winter. And when families are under stress, bad things can happen.
Right.
I think there's an awful lot of economic uncertainty. I mean, we all know we're in a recovery of some kind, but it's very slow and it's spotty. So I think those things contribute.
I never thought about that with a long winter. I mean, we were stressed. We were stressed in the building, like, okay, I'm stuck. Like, this is it. Like, you're barely going to make it out to go to work. You're lucky, you're barely going to make it home. You're not going anyplace else. And if you already feel stuck because of economic reasons, and that's just compounding a situation.
Yeah, there's something going on in New York State, I think, right now, because the foster care population has ticked up a little bit. It's been in a decline. And I'm going to say for the last 8 years, the numbers of kids in foster care, and that's all kinds of foster care, foster homes, residential, group homes, has been dropping. And, we're down from around 60,000 children 10 years ago to about 20,000 children now. And agencies typically had vacancies, but I'm hearing from other execs that they're that people are full, and that there is actually, the state statistics show a little bit of an uptick. So, whatever's happening is really being reflected in the kids being referred into out-of-home care. And that's always an abuse neglect kind of referral. That's where these kids are coming from.
Do you think, and again, there's, as you mentioned, there's probably not empirical data on this. Maybe there is, but is it because that society may be paying more attention to this, or that it's just happening more?
I think that what's happened is that there was a lot of emphasis on providing services to kids in their homes and communities, which we all know is a good thing. And I think that there may be some kids for whom that route has been taken and now may not be working out, for the teenager. So you deliver a lot of services, you stabilize the child at home, but then something is happening, that's leading more kids into care.
And another reason why, as Teresa, you said, thank goodness you guys are there.
Yes.
You're there.
Yes.
There is a safety net.
Yeah.
Children are safe. They can, if they're removed, there is a safe place for them to be, and that's the children's home.
Yeah. And then our regular population of kids is we're practically at 100% of capacity in all of our beds right now, which was not the case a year ago.
I was going to ask that has been a change.
Yeah, we're full, except in the Young Mothers program, which the referrals seem to have declined in the Young Mothers program. Now that may reflect a general decrease in teen pregnancies that's been going on nationally and statewide. So we may be seeing a little bit of that right now. I did close one of our Young Mothers homes in January.
Okay.
And we have one available bed now in the 2 homes that we're operating. So we're going to need to open an additional home, which we will do. We have an application in. We bought a beautiful little ranch house like right across from the campus. That's a small 5-bed program that we're thinking about, a very specialized kind of program for the girls who have babies, where we really try to teach them how to function in the real world, which I don't think the foster care system does a good job of.
Right.
So we really want them to sit at the kitchen table with a checkbook and write the check for the electric bill, have a budget. We'll construct it in a way that that'll be real for them, because we see that our kids go out at 21 and as much as we've tried to ground them in what's required, they don't really get it. And they don't understand how expensive things are, and they don't really understand that you actually have to pay your rent on the first. That's not your first installment of the rent for the month. The landlord wants the whole rent.
Right.
And some of our kids get in trouble with that they're always behind, they're lagging.
You know what, I got to say, I think that it seems to me, knowing some other individuals who've not ever been in foster care, it seems to me there's too many people that feel that way, that are of a younger generation that and I don't know why. That are shocked that the cable bill is this much money. That, if you continue to upgrade your cell phone, this is what that means.
Yep.
When you do that. And I think it's valuable for anybody to be able to have the tools to say, okay, here's what needs to go out, here's what's coming in money wise, how do we make it work?
Right. Well, and these children who are in foster care, I mean, this is a national issue of youth aging out of foster care and just not being able to be on their own. We all try to teach them independent living skills, the financial, the housekeeping, the taking care of yourself, the making your medical and dental appointments, all of those things that hopefully those of us who grew up in families learn along the way. And when you're in the foster care system, we've talked about this a little bit, a lot of that is done for you because the regulations require it to be done for you.
The whole entitlement piece that goes on with this.
Right. Got it.
And so the kids don't really...
They don't see that.
No, they don't. And if a kid throws his winter coat in the garbage because he goes to school and he doesn't like it, you're going to have to give him a new winter coat.
Right.
He's not going to walk around in his shirt sleeves because you can't do that. So it does create some unreality for these kids. And we see it when they turn 21, because generally speaking, when these kids age out, it's a cliff situation. You're 20 and 364 days old and you're being taken care of, and now you're 21 and one day old, and it's all gone. And you have to go, if you need services, you're going into the adult services, but that operates very differently there's less available. I mean, foster care is a huge safety net for kids.
Right.
But once you go into the adult system, there is a safety net, but it's not as inclusive. And if you're a young male, you're really gonna probably not be able to get too much out of a system, which is understandable, because you don't want lifetime entitlement. Right. You don't want lifetime dependencies. So the system spurs you to try to survive. But if you think about making $8 or $9 an hour, and then looking at housing costs in the county,
around
your earlier
here.
question.
Right. They
How are you
can't
doing
make
that?
They can't make it.
No.
They literally can't make it. I have had youngsters come, and I sit with them and go over their budgets with them again, and we'll show them. They think they're okay, but when you get them to tell you all of their expenses, they're not okay. They have a shortfall every month, and they have to figure out a way to make that up. And usually people will get roommates. You'll split a house 3 or 4 ways. For some reason, our kids seem to be kind of reluctant to do that. I've got 2 who I'm working with right now who both want to be on their own, and they don't want a roommate, but they really can't afford to be on their own.
Right.
And circumstances, one young woman's circumstances have forced her to move into it. She's found a great situation where she's rooming in a house with a very lovely person who owns it, who actually cooks dinners and things like that. And it's a home-like environment, and she's probably got the most stability she's had in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Because she can afford that room.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other people around, so the loneliness piece is kind of out of it too.
Right.
Our kids have all these attachment issues, and
Sure.
And then their peer group is other kids who are just like them, who are struggling financially and struggling emotionally. So they tend to share some housing, but none of them have resources, or at least not enough. So it's a real challenge.
If you think about it, it's like a light switch. In one flick, there it is.
Yeah.
And my parents didn't do that. I mean, you had skills, and there were steps, and there were levels, and if you didn't do so well on a level, you could at least come home and talk. I mean, there was a limit. Like
Right.
you don't want a lifetime of you constantly have to run to your parents. You're 35, and you're still running to your parents to say, please help me out with this bill. Then I think the balance has been shifted a little bit,
Right.
in not a healthy way. But you knew that the safety net was moving just a little gradually at a time, and not completely
Sure.
all in one thing. Here it is. Everything you've known in your life is now different as of today.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't have
Wow.
that kind of
Wow.
safety net. We are their safety net,
Yeah.
and we work so hard, but most kids are not that realistic at that age. They're not,
Right.
and the kids that we get are dealing with all the other issues on top of all of this.
Yeah, I wasn't realistic at that age.
Well, nobody.
No.
I got my
Nobody really
apartment,
is.
and my father was like, "What did you just do?" I'm like, "No, I'll be fine." Yeah, okay. Well, 6 months later, I was like, "Dad, you were right."
Yeah. He
How
got
did
smarter.
you know
He got a lot
that?
smarter in that 6 months, didn't he?
But
I
you're right.
had a young woman in my office yesterday who is a graduate. She's 31, will be 32, and years ago she becomes homeless electively, and when the weather gets good, she goes homeless, and then she's managed to find places to live. But we've helped her pay for a motel room for most of the winter. But she came yesterday with her belongings. She had thrown away a lot of stuff, and she had her, like a typical homeless person with a card of some kind, but she was terrified. She said, "I'm afraid to go back out onto the street." And I said, "I'll pay another month for your hotel room, and we'll try to figure out to get her into a rooming house."
Mm-hmm.
She finally got a job. She's been looking for a job. She has a less than full-time job, which is the other big challenge that these kids are seeing, that they are not getting full-time jobs. They're getting 20, 21 hours. And so even if they want to work, they can't. They don't. That 40-hour-a-week job is just about gone, at least as far as I can see.
Right.
So they can't, unless they can get 2 or 3 of them, which is difficult. So the challenges are very, very real, and the safety net isn't there, which is why we're very pleased that we're able to do this. And it's expensive to do this, but we get a lot of community support.
Mm-hmm.
We've had emergency funds set up. We've had different organizations fund kind of emergency funds for our kids, which is very useful.
Right.
So that because none of this is paid for under any kind of a rate or any kind of state reimbursement, it's all private money.
Right.
But it's critical. It literally saves the lives of some of these young adults.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Teresa, I know there's some events coming up, and I know you guys have always said the community has been very generous and always helping out. but you guys are also working hard to have some fun events. So people can come and have a nice evening, have a nice day, have some fun, help out the children's home. So I know that there's some things coming up. If it's okay with you guys, if we touch base about those now.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. First of all, our annual campaign is not at its goal yet, so I would encourage anybody who can to send in a gift. You can go on our website, www.children'shome.us, and click on the donate button. You can make your gift online. I encourage people to set up a monthly gift, which then they can spread over a whole year, and it maybe makes the whole thing easier
That's a good
for
idea.
people. Or you can let us know that you want to make a gift. Call us up, and we'll walk you through giving us your credit card information, whatever. So that's one way. But like most agencies, we're trying to branch out and find other ways, easy ways for people to support the home and still have fun.
Right.
So we have a few events coming up. On May 15th, if you eat at La Puerta Azul, a wonderful restaurant out in Millbrook.
I love that restaurant. Okay.
Yeah,
I do.
Great food.
Yes.
They're open for lunch and dinner. And if you eat there on May 15th, 15% of your tab will be donated back to the children's home.
Oh, nice.
They've done this before. They're really very good to us, and they're lovely people out there. On June 12th, we have a little kind of a new event. It's called Paintbrushes and Party. It's where people gather and they have a glass of wine and they learn how to paint something.
It's
and
the coolest thing.
I've talked to other people who've had great fun.
Coolest
at these things.
Coolest thing ever, because there are people here at the station that have done it. Their pictures are on their walls in their office. Mm-hmm. In fact, we think this one long hallway should just be a gallery for all of the paintbrush parties.
I think that's a great idea.
So
I think it's a great idea.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, they have lots of options to choose from, and we've chosen one that we think won't be too intimidating for anybody and a lot of fun. And I think if we can get 75 people there, they will give us $1,000. But however many people we get there, a percent will go toward the $40 a person.
I was going to ask that. Okay.
And $10 of that $40 will be donated back to the children's home.
But you have such a fun time.
Oh, yeah. 6:30 to 9 o'clock, have a glass of wine, learn a little bit about how to paint, bring out the inner artist in everyone.
And I will say this. There have been a couple of folks in there in the building that were like, I'm not doing this. I'm not an artist. There is nothing good going to come from this. The next day, I was like, oh, really? Well, look at that. I do believe there is a little bit of artist in you. It's really a great atmosphere. It really, really is. So I think that's great that you guys are doing that. Tremendous. Yes. So that's June 12th.
June 12th. Thursday, June 12th. From 6:30 to 9. And they need to let us know. So they should email pr@children'shome.us and let the development associate Erin Caffarelli know that they're interested in this.
Okay.
The third is another restaurant day. Capola's in Hyde Park
Very nice.
Generously offered to donate 10% of the bill for any meal on June 19th to the children's home.
Okay, so that's 10%.
10%.
Capola's in Hyde Park. Very nice place.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Very
great place,
good food.
Good solid
nice people.
Food.
Yes.
Very nice people. Very supportive people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's three different ways.
There's 3 ways.
So if anybody who's listening eats,
Right.
there's 2 events for you that you can help out with. Okay. So if you eat and you like Mexican food, you're good. You eat, you like Italian, you're good.
You're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Covered.
You're perfectly good.
And you want to paint?
And you want to paint, you need some decor in your home. Mm-hmm. You want to show people, look what I can do. Then this is the paintbrush party, which really, I mean, I haven't been to one, but there are folks and friends that I work with that just love them. Cannot wait for the next one. In fact, when we're done, I'm going to take this flyer and put it up in their office and go, here's another opportunity.
Well, there you go.
Here's an opportunity for you to go.
Well, we have a number of people on the staff and some of our board members who are already really excited about this. So I think it's going to be a great fun evening.
So for the restaurant ones, obviously you just show up that day.
Yes.
You don't need to obviously pre-register or anything. Yes. But for paintbrushes, email, it's PR, right? PR at children'shome.us.
Exactly.
So just to make sure you know.
Yep.
that you guys, I'm trying to speak English here, which is apparently is leaving me right now.
Not that bad. You're not doing that bad.
Okay, thank you. So that you guys know that they're coming.
Yes.
And if you get 75 people, then it's $1,000.
It's an extra. Yeah, it's an extra gift.
An
to
extra
the
gift,
children's home.
which would be let's do that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we should.
That'd be great.
That would be the goal that we do. I think that would be tremendous. Okay, so and I also want to remind folks that no matter what station you're listening to, know that we will have this show up on everyone's website. I want to say that first off. So whether you're listening on PDH or WRV or Mix 97 or 94.3, 97.3 The Wolf or the True Oldie station, this show will be up on the website so you can go back and listen to parts. You can get all these phone numbers. You can get the dates. We will also be posting to Facebook so that you can kind of have a little bit of a reminder. So I wanted to take just a moment just to let everybody know that since we've given them 3 dates and a whole bunch of emails and some phone numbers.
Right.
So, Walt, let me bring you back into this,
Okay.
something that you guys were talking about before, and that is the sanctuary model, if you will. Let's talk a little bit about that. We've got about 10 minutes left of the show.
Okay.
And what is that? What does this mean? What does this do? I know we're talking about the sanctuary garden, but kind of fill us in.
Sure. Well, the sanctuary model was developed by a woman named Sandra Bloom, who's a psychiatrist, and it has become almost a standard of care for people who are recovering from trauma. So it's trauma-informed care that gives an agency like ours a shared language, a shared set of concepts to try to understand what's happened to our children and to help them recover. And one of the key issues is, in the old days, and I remember when kids had problem lists, when you diagnosed a child, you came up with these problem lists. And people really, said, what's wrong with you to children? But now we're saying, what happened to you? So now we're really asking, what happened to you? And it's really useful to think about this. I mean, I know that there are people who will say, it's an excuse to misbehave or whatever, but we know that children who are exposed to traumatic events, that it has, real life consequences for them. There was a study called the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, that looked at a simple menu of about 10 adverse experiences like physical abuse, sexual abuse, parental incarceration, parental substance abuse. They were just, and it was done, the study was done with about 10,000 people, and it was folks like us. It was not an inner city study. It was a middle class study. And what they found was if you had 2 or more adverse experiences, that it started to set you up for some real problems as an adult. So the more you were exposed to trauma as a child, the more likely you were going to have some issues as an adult, like substance abuse, like lots of sexual partners, like physical ailments, like diabetes, other diseases seem to be linked to these exposures. And then the neuroscience of it has really shown that the younger that children experience these adverse experiences, it rewires their brains, and so that kids who are exposed to trauma can be hypervigilant, their heart rates are elevated, they are subject to triggering, like something will trigger a reaction that might be an abuse situation they had. So Sanctuary, does a lot of work around trying to understand this and to give the trauma victims a structure of how to deal with it. So there's commitments to certain things. Agencies have to make certain commitments. People develop a safety plan for themselves. So if you're upset, you begin to recognize those symptoms. You know what to do to help calm yourself down,
Right.
and things like that. And so it's been very useful for us. I mean, it's really through all the levels at the children's home. Now there's groups that are done with kids. There's training that's done with all of the staff, and that's everybody. Child care, clinical, administrative. Everybody goes through training, so that we have a shared language. We have a shared construct around Sanctuary, and we think it's been very effective. Dr. Crenshaw, our clinical director, looked at the adverse childhood experiences that our kids have gone through, and some of them have had 10. I mean, they're off the scale in terms of, what's happened. And being removed from your family is tremendously traumatic, no matter what the family situations are. So you've got ongoing neglect and abuse. Then you're removed. Now you're in a strange environment. So this stuff builds. So it's been very, very good for us. And we think we've seen real reductions in acting out behavior on the part of kids that Part of trauma recovery is being able to look forward. Like I say to kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, trauma victims typically don't think life can be different for them from the way it is now, but you help give people a forward vision. So it's useful to say you can change, you can get better. It isn't always going to be like this, and here's the things that you can do to help yourself, and here's what we can do to help you help yourself.
Wow. So many things that you would never think of. Just the fact saying over and over, it doesn't have to stay this way.
Not going to stay, yeah.
By asking the question, what do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? That there's possibilities.
Yeah, that there's something out there that's better. I have asked lots of our kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of them don't have a thing that they want to do.
Oh.
They don't even say, I want to be a cowboy or a fireman,
Oh.
They can't see that kind of a future. They can't envision any kind of future.
So that having that future vision is very important. And then we've restructured all of our record keeping around some of the sanctuary concepts so that we stay focused on this as we develop goals for kids and families and things like that. So it's been good. And then we have, part of it is that self-analysis and contemplation that you have to do. And we are developing a sanctuary garden with a lot of support from community organizations as a place that people can go to have a quiet moment to do some of this work.
That's a great idea.
About that a little bit, Teresa.
Thank you. Knowing how successful the sanctuary model has been for the children's home, our activities coordinator, I think it was his idea.
Yeah, I think it was Jay's notion.
And Dr. Lee.
Yes.
To develop a garden, another outdoor garden area that would provide that kind of sanctuary feeling for children who are feeling stressed, feeling the need for some meditation time, for some quiet talking in a surrounding that is calming.
Mm-hmm.
And so we sought some grant funding, and we got actually several small grants to create this garden, and we started working on it last year and planning to have it all finished early this summer, so that the children and the staff have this great place that will be it's close to the front of the campus and has a gazebo, it has an arbor, it will have a lot of shrubs and trees and rock formations. It has a heavy wood swing, a garden swing, some picnic tables. So there are lots of areas for children and adults to go to sit, contemplate, think about what they need to do to feel better.
I wish we had a sanctuary garden here at this. I mean, it sounds like everybody could use this to slow down, to stop and breathe. As you guys reminded me today when you came in, you get going on this pace and this tempo.
Yep.
And then you add in other factors, and then you're still going at this tempo, but then you're also trying to figure things out. And there's triggers, and if something has set you off, you kind of need to reset that focus. And what a great idea to physically be able to go to a space to help you reset.
Yeah, and then the safety plans that kids develop. I don't have one with me, but usually, like, staff will put it on the back of their and it'll say the 4 things that you should do when you're upset. One of them could be that the child will say, that the staff will, in agreement with the staff, that the child or the youth could say, I'm going to go sit in the sanctuary garden. And then that would become a way for the child to move out of maybe things in the cottage are a little chaotic, or they're upset with somebody. They could go to the sanctuary garden and be there to get themselves back together and come back when they're ready to come back. Puts control in their hands.
Yeah.
It's a safe place to go. They're not going to go off campus and AWOL into the community. It's done in advance so that people know what to do when they're feeling the stress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you don't know, then what your instincts tell you to do are not always the best.
That's right.
I know very few people who function well when emotions are high, whether that's because of anger or fear or a loss or grief. So to have a plan put in place, if you have to look down at it, then you look down at it, and that's okay. But you've thought about it when you weren't in that state. is a very powerful thing to do.
Yeah.
Like you said, it gives the control back. They decide.
Yeah.
Well, and
with the help of
and
the
we
staff.
all know that nature is soothing.
Right.
And so this will be a very natural feeling environment, and that alone is soothing. And removing yourself from the environment in which you are feeling stressed, I think I personally do this. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just take a walk outside.
Right.
Walk around the building, walk around my house, walk around the yard,
Right.
whatever.
Well, it's that fight or flight reaction, that upset
Right.
people have. And in the old days, and a child would run away because they were upset about something, and you would very intently try to get that kid and bring them back into the cottage. Well, you were taking the kid who fled back into the situation they fled from, which was going to simply escalate their level of upset and maybe end up in something more unpleasant. So the idea of like giving people that space that they need. We've done really, really well, with being much less restrictive in how we deal with kids and putting much more control into their hands. And the kids have been good. They can leave the cottage when they need to. And, 10 years ago, that just wasn't
the case.
So, and they have, I think for the most part, have used it very effectively. The kids have used it effectively.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm looking up, and believe it or not, we're like a minute and a half out of time.
Wow.
So you guys are going to have to come back. I always say, so in a minute and a half, if you want to wrap up, Teresa, some final comments that you'd like to leave with folks.
I would just like to say thank you to the many, many volunteers out there in the community who continually support the home by having drives of various kinds, bringing us school supplies, bringing craft supplies. Easter was huge. We had so many donations, just generous people. And the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority came and spent the morning doing crafts and an Easter egg hunt and all kinds of great things for the kids. The community is terrific to us, and we couldn't do what we do without it. Mm-hmm. We really do appreciate it.
Very cool. Well,
yeah, and I would just add to that. I mean, the groups that reach out to us, it's really very extraordinary. We have groups coming in over the next month to come and do projects. IBM's been great for us. The Mitzvah group has come in and done. And so people are approaching us. I mean, sometimes we're challenged to say, what's a good, meaningful project for a group to come and do? Mm-hmm. So we've had lots of areas of the campus cleaned up and landscape, painted, and the groups who come in have a great time. We have a great time. The kids appreciate it because they see they feel like they're part of a community that's coming in to support them. So it's really terrific. So I add my thanks to those folks. We couldn't do it without.
That's got to help in a healing process as well.
Absolutely.
That you are part of something,
yep.
and people care of what it looks like and what you live with and what you live around. I mean, that's very telling, I think.
Yes, I think I agree with you. And I think when you create nice space, mm-hmm. you're sending a message to the children and everybody else that you value them.
Yeah, absolutely. Walt and Teresa, thank you very, very much. I'm sorry it got away from me. I didn't look. I was paying more attention, so I'm sorry we had to wrap up so quickly. So you will just come back, which I know you will.
Thanks. Love to come back.
Thanks, guys. If you have any questions about anything you've heard today, know that you can listen live on the website of whatever radio station you're listening to right now. You can always call 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. We'd love to have you on the program. Take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.